This is the Unreal Engine 5 skeleton export. I've done a lot of these mapping tutorials. I'm just going to do another one. I don't know if it'll be helpful, but I think people don't realize just how easy it is. So it's a point where people get stuck. And here, this is not in a T-pose, but it needs to be for SL. If I go into pose mode here, select all the bones A, I'll put up this keycast thing. Where is it? Select all the bones A, Alt R, Alt G. I still don't get a T-pose, so we're going to have to make one for ourselves. So what I'll do here is I'll make sure I select all these keys here. And I'm going to make a spot for the T-pose. I'll just move these over by 1, so I have a blank here. And I'm going to pose my character. And I want to use see-through. So let's see, in front. And I'm going to have to identify the bones. Now, I can do the X mirror. I don't think it'll work in this condition. Yeah, you see it's opposite. So turn that off. I'll have to do them individually. And I want to see through. I want to see my gizmo. So I'm gonna have a look at that here. My move gizmo. You can use the rotate gizmo to rotate the arm if you like. I don't do that, so I don't really care about that. It just gets in the way. And what do we have here? The wrist. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it in a crude way here. That's a sheep bone, I guess. Twist bone. Alright. And the fingers have to do the same thing, okay? I'm not going to do the fingers because it's a whole big mess of a job. But if you want a proper map, you'll do the fingers. Unless you're doing all your own animations, then you don't need to do that. And this shoulder has to come in, I think. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this with any precision. I mean, if I were doing this for myself, I'd take more time, but anyway, this is just the tutorial to show how it's done, not to actually get it done. And I think the legs ought to come in a little bit, so we can find the legs. That doesn't look like a leg. I'll move that out of the way for now. Bring those in a little bit. I'm going to Alt-R this, just to put it back where it was. I don't think it's going to be necessary, but whatever. Now I'll select all the bones and go into the keying. I'll use lock rot here, location rotation, and just set a key right there. And I'm going to save this file. This isn't necessary in order to map the beast. It's just something I want to get done for now. Now we're going to go over to mapping and map all the major bones. I won't do, well, yeah, I'll do the fingers to show how that's done, but they're not going to be usable until you adjust the pose. And like I said, if you're making your own animations, you don't have to have this starting pose. You can have whatever you choose, but for your animations to be consistent across this platform, source platform, which is UE4, you'll have to create a starting pose for each one because they seem to differ. I don't know, depending on the character you export, possibly. I don't know. Let's do the arms first. I'm going to, well, I'm going to have to leave the mesh up because the bones are all goofy. Um, Actually, I'm going to try something. I'm going to pull the tail of the bone to the head of its parent. Let's see if I get a better view there. First, I'm going to save this in case it goes wrong. And that might give me a better idea of what bones to use. I think that one is going to be the collar. So let's see, that's the collar, okay. And one of these are going to be the arm. Alright, that works a little bit, I think. Let's go back to the snap mapper. And action. I want to see through that, so in front. Alright, we'll start with the collar, I guess. And map these bones. I have to do both sides. So that's the collar too. Map these bones. I'd use a chain, which I'll show you how to do with the fingers. If I knew which bones I could use. Let's see, like that. And this one is not used, but it's parented to this. And that should be parented to that. I guess it is. We can try the chain, I guess. I'm going to try the chain instead. And I'm going to remove the map on that one. Unmap that one. So I'll try the chain. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'll do a chain of 4 here. And select where it's from. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and fill. I think that worked. 1, 2, let's check them. Yeah. Alright, so that worked. 3 and 4. Alright, we can do that on the other side as well. So check the wrist there and fill. Alright, now that's how we do the fingers. But we have a chain of 3 on the fingers here, not 4. So I'll drop that down to 3 and pick the tip of that thumb and fill. And that's what you do to all of these. Now I'm going to pause the video so you don't have to watch me do all of these. And I'll finish up on the other hand. Okay, so I'm at the other hand and I'm going to show you something. Sometimes you want to bring your material closer. So you can do that, but if you do a fill on this now, or even a map, these bones will go back to where they originally started. You can stop that from happening and keep your material with the how I did that. Keep the material with the other bones by enabling the release button, which is right here. Release is a global setting. It's not per selection. So we'll do this one now and fill. And just make sure to disable that when you're done. And I'll disable it now because there isn't going to be anything left. You can save your map here, but the map saves with the rig in the Blender file. But it's always a good idea to save it. That's the whole purpose of this. So, Unreal. Let's see what we got here. Unreal Engine 4. And I'll put Unreal Engine 5 here, because that's where it's from. So now we have a new one. Save that map. And I'll do the legs. We can do the same thing. I'm going to move these out of the way. So so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to map one at a time, so that you can get an idea how that works in case I didn't show it well enough. So I'm going to select the hip bone, which is, I think, that one there, and map these bones. That's for individual bones. And those went back to where they belong, which is fine. And I don't think release will keep those. Let's see if release works on that as well. I don't think it does. No, it only works on the source or the target system. Oops. And then that's a twist, so we're not going to use that. That looks like the knee bone, so we can map that one. Map these bones. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually delete these bones because they're in my way. I'm going to save the file as it is. I'll reset the stage for now. My eyes work. I might be able to find this. Reset the stage. I'm going to save the file as is. I'll load it up again with all the bones intact after I'm done mapping. But I don't need these bones. Actually, I'm going to select them in pose mode so I can see which ones are interfering with my view. And then I'm going to go into edit mode and just hit delete. And I don't know where that one belongs. Let's see where that goes. Where's that go? Yeah, we don't want that one either. Edit. Delete that bone. Now pose. And I'll go back into my snap mapper and action. I want to see in front, so I'll do that again. That's not it. We already did that hip, didn't we? Yeah. So the knee. Map these bones. And then we have what, the foot here, right? The top of the foot, that's not it. That looks like it's it. So do that one. And is there a toe in here? There might be a toe. Yeah. So we could just use that piece. That's actually the toe here, but it doesn't matter, really. You just make sure that you use the same bone you used in here. So that's the toe. We know where that is. And then the ankle, foot, whatever. And this is almost done. We'll just have to do the spine. So that would be the pelvis. That moves everything. So make sure you map that to M pelvis. And then just keep mapping until we run out of bones, I guess. And then we'll decide if there's something we have to remove, because oftentimes there's more bones than we can utilize. And let's see what this one does. And so you'll goof around with that a little bit. That looks right. That looks right too. I think the next one we'll just go with the head, the neck and head. So we'll skip a bone. You can do that. The converter will know what to do with that bone. And then that's the head. And it's the skull up there. You don't want to use that for animating. Not in this particular situation. So the map is done, and I'll save it. And I'll show the conversion afterwards. Let's see. Unreal, right? Oops, I spelled that wrong. 5. Okay, so now that I saved my map, I'm going to load up my old file that has all the bones, and then I have to apply the map. So I'll load the map here and look for Unreal. Load it, and I'll save it like this now because it's all done. I got all my goofy bones back, which probably I'll never need, but just to show you how to keep your skeleton intact, I did that. Now I'm going to convert this mesh so that it can actually be utilized in Second Life, and then I'm going to also export the animation. But let's do the mesh first. So I'm going to select the rig, character converter. I want to make sure I make a copy because I'm going to delete that copy after I export. And really you just convert because the map's already on the rig. Export to Second Life. Here. Alright, that did it. Now because it's a copy, I can just hit the delete key and I have my original material back because that was just a copy. Now we can go over to the retargeter. Let's see. Let's go to character tools, retarget motion. We already have a map, so let's click the action button and see what we get. Actually, I want some distance, so reset the stage and put some distance on this so we can see the skeleton move. Alright, so now the skeleton moves with the avatar. So you'll be able to use that animation on your regular avatar. You don't need to use it on the Unreal Engine one. But there are some benefits to having an animation associated with the actual material. You'll see that the hands are all goofed up. Like I said, you're going to have to do those yourself. It's just too much work for me to put in the demo. But I'll show you basically what you have to do after I export this animation. How am I doing that? Oh, animation. The frame range has already been acquired. Otherwise, you would select this rig and hit acquire, but it's already there. Export features. Just gonna shorten that. I want a priority of 4, and I want to loop the animation just for testing purposes, and then export it. Yeah. Alright, when that button stops turning red, it should be done. Alright, so now the animation is exported. I'm going to reset the retargeter, and then I'll show you how you adjust the fingers. You do that by creating a safe rig. I'll move it behind that guy. I'll get into the top view, and you'll see that you'll have to adjust the fingers to match the same orientation as those. And then once you do that, you also want to do the front as well. So I can't see them in the front, so I'll lift this up a little bit. And you'll see that you'll have to lift the thumb up a little and straighten out the fingers. And that's how you'll do that later on. Anyway, let's pull this material into Second Life and see what it looks like. I'll do the mesh model first. And you'll need to use joint positions on custom rigs like this. Again, the fingers are going to be goofed up, but I'm also going to do an animesh, and I'm going to export an animation with a little bit different properties. I'll do both. I'll do the animesh with this animation and the animesh with the other animation. I'm not sure the fingers are animated. If they're not, they're both going to look the same. Probably. Alright, that's the mesh. I'll grab the animation. And I'll put on the mesh. I'll play the animation. You see the fingers are goofed up. So yeah, there are finger animations. I'll show how this works on the. So yeah, the fingers aren't gonna work on the animesh either. Now that I see that they're animated, I'm gonna drop the mannequin here and make an animesh out of it. I create an anchor for it, select it, link it to the anchor, go into the features and say that it's animesh, and then I'm going to grab a different animation for that. And when I say different animation, I mean I'm going to use glue, but there's another tool in here, a retargeter, that uses glue already, and it's easier to use. If you're going to use glue, you can go to bone control, where is it, here, and say snap bones, and it already uses glue. And with this, you don't have to reset the retargeter, you just delete the rig, which makes it easier. So if you're going to use glue, this is probably better to use animation and just export it normally. And I'll just delete that rig, and let's go back in and import this new animation. Okay, so now that's the new one there, and I'll drop it into our set, as well as the animation script for animesh. What happened there? Let's say unable to add script. Why not? I've never seen that before, ever. It must be a glitch. Oh man, that is so weird. I've never seen that before. It won't even create a new, there it does, yeah, create a new script. I don't know why I did that, but I'm just gonna, it must be a bug. I'm just gonna copy the contents of the old script. I don't know why I did that. I'm certain that that's a beta grid bug right now. Alright, so I'll lift that up. This pelvis is way down there. Okay. And watch it play. You can also make this translucent. That's a really strange bug. I'm sure they're working on stuff. Texture, just make it invisible. Yeah. His fingers are all goofed up. Did I put the right animation in there? That is weird. Wonder why. Let's make sure I put the right animation. I'm sure I did. I don't know why I did that. I really don't know why it's doing that. I goofed up somewhere. I don't know. I'll figure it out another time. Maybe the animation didn't export. It's the same one. Let me check something. I'm just going to try to do the animation one more time. Make sure that the fingers aren't goofed up in here. Wait a minute. They are. That's why it's not working, because the fingers are actually goofed up on the rig itself. And that's probably because I did the head to tail thing. So I can just reload this. I could probably reload this and do the conversion. That's the reason why it's messed up. All that stuff would have worked if I hadn't adjusted head to tail earlier. Anyway, there it is. I meant to say tail to head. So let me pull the map in for. Let me redo this with a clean set to show that it'll work. And I'm just gonna. The video is gonna hiccup a moment, so I can do that. And I'll pull in the old model. Okay, so I just pulled in the old model, but I didn't check the animation. Let's see if it's broken. No, it's not broken, so I goofed it up earlier. Alright, so I'm going to show how this is done. Now all I have to do is load the map. This is a clean model that I just imported. So I'm going to go into object mode. Now when you're using glue, you still need a reference of where the rig's rest pose is, which is you can see it in edit mode. But if you're in pose mode, you select A, all the bones, Alt R, Alt G, and then you create a key. I'll do that again, Alt R, Alt G. You create a key on the first frame. You need key set here, so I'll do lock rot, and I hit the I to create the key here, and I'll save this. Alright, so this is how I would do animesh. I wouldn't go into a T-pose or anything. If I were making my own animations, then I could just use the starting pose, as long as the starting pose is consistent for each of the characters that you're using. And I will go to character converter, make my copy, do the I have to load the map. Okay, so Unreal 5, and then do the conversion. Now I did copy, so you can see that the copy is chosen, and export just like before. Test here. Right, so now I can delete that. And I will do the retarget animation now. Back over to character tools, bone control. And I want to send to animation, so I want to send the frame. I want to send the frame range to the animation tool. That's why I need to enable that. You don't have to do that in the retarget motion because it's already enabled by default. But the expectation is different when using the bone control tool. Snap bones, animation. I still want it to be priority 4, and I want it to loop and export. And when that's done, I can just hit delete instead of having to remember to reset the retargeter. And because the initial pose is different, I'm going to need a new animesh. So I already exported that, right? I think I already did. I guess we'll find out soon enough. Yeah, because it's in on a pose effectively. That doesn't matter because this is a representation of what the Second Life uploader believes we ought to be seeing, and they're using their own internal animations, and that's not the one we're using. So while that looks goofy and some of it looks right, none of it's right really. I'm also going to upload the new animation, which I didn't name differently. So, and again, I create my anchor, like that, and I'm still going to try to load this script in and see. Yeah, same thing. This is not a process error. This is a Second Life issue. I don't know what's going on with Beta Grid, but I'll just deposit the contents of that. That shouldn't be happening. Features, animesh, and I know that I'm going to have to bring it up somewhat, so I'll just do that. Alright, I'm not going to go through the other thing. You can see that the fingers work now. There we go. All done.